What is up? My name is Tony and I'm a filmmaker photographer in St. Louis, Missouri. I've been doing way too many of those vlog lifestyle things, so today we're going to do a tutorial. Let's talk about that classic overhead shot. Well, like I said, my name is Tony and today we're talking about the overhead shot, also known as the flat lay for photography. You've probably seen these done well and not so well. So I want to give you a few tips and tricks that I've learned over the years on how to get a really professional looking overhead shot. Now you can use these for all sorts of different things, whether you're showing off a new product, whether you're showing a tutorial on how to draw something, whether you just need another camera angle. These are all different things that you can use this overhead shot for and ways that I've done in the past. So what I want to do first is tell you about some of the gear that you can possibly use to get your shot safe and effective, and then we'll get into some of the tips. So let's get into the gear. So when it comes to gear, I have the same principle that I always do. You never want to spend more than what you really need, but you don't want your gear to hold you back. So with that being said, you don't want to spend $1,000 on an overhead rig that you're only going to use once. So use what you have laying around to be able to do it, but you want to make sure that it's safe. So here's 3 basic types of overhead rigs that I've used in the past. The first one is very simple. It's just using a tripod. You can use a tripod with a ball head or even a video head. All you have to do is just aim it down, point your camera at the table, and you're good to go. Now this will determine which lens you use. You may want something that's a little bit tighter to be able to get those legs out of the way, and if this doesn't work, then you may need to do something a little bit different. Say your subject's too big, or you need to get in there to interact with the subject or the painting or the illustration, whatever it is you're trying to shoot. So there's a second option. You can fire up your drone and fly right over the table and boom, you're good to go. That may not be the best option, but it is an option, especially if you're outside. The third option is you can invest a little bit of money and you can purchase, say, a C-stand and a boom arm. I just bought a new black one from B&H with a sandbag. The whole kit that got me what I needed was less than $200. And you think, wow, $200 is a lot of money for just an accessory, but you can use C-stands for all sorts of things, whether it's mounting lights or audio, all sorts of different things. So they're very versatile and always good to have laying around at your disposal. Today we're going to be talking specifically on how I set up an overhead shot with a C-stand and a boom. Now you want to be safe no matter what direction you're doing. You always want to make sure that your camera is not going to tip over, fall and break, or hurt somebody. So make sure that everything is secure when you're hanging a camera over your head. So the way that I've been doing it is I have this black C-stand that has a sandbag on the bottom. Always make sure to put the sandbag on the tallest leg, and that's where you want to have your arm hanging over as well, so that everything is aligned, and that's how you're going to have the most support. Then what I did is I bought this, I don't know, it was like less than 10 bucks, this adapter that just has a 1/4 inch screw head on it. So then you can attach a ball head or a video head or whatever kind of mount you want right onto the arm of the C-stand. Nice and simple, you don't need anything else. I'll list all of the links in the description below so that you know exactly what I'm talking about. But this is a great setup and very versatile. You can adjust it, you can move it. This is how I did the shot for the Slider 1 overhead shot last week. So once you have it all lined up, then all you have to do is take your camera, mount it to the tripod head that you have mounted onto your C-stand, and then choose your lens length appropriately. Depending on what you want to do, you want to make sure that your lens is aligned properly with the table and the subject so you don't have weird angles happening. That can happen really fast when you're looking down. Just kind of take your time and line it up. Another tip that I have learned over the years that really helps is to have an external monitor from your camera laying on the table so you're not trying to look over the camera on the top of it, all that fun stuff. With Canon's new cameras, it's really easy. All I do is connect to the Wi-Fi of the camera, and then in the app I actually have a screen output that I can see all of my settings, and then I can dial in all of my settings, hit record, and see the framing while I'm actually recording without running any other cables. Now if you don't have a Canon, you can always use a cable like it's 2005, but it's whatever. We'll use Canons for now. Alright, here we go. Let's talk about some tips on how you can improve the quality of your overhead shots. Alright, so tip number one is to think through the surface that your subject will be sitting on. You want to create some contrast. So if you've got a dark subject, say it's a camera or lens, you want to have a light background. And what that's going to do is help that subject to pop off of the surface. If you've got a light subject, like say a light or a piece of paper, maybe try a dark background with some texture, say some wood or something like that, and that's going to help the subject pop off of the surface and just make it look that much better. Alright, tip number two is to think through the lighting you want to have. Lighting, just like in everything, can make or break your shot. Now, lighting also helps you portray the mood. If you want lighthearted, if you want bright and airy kind of looks, then you need to have some light lighting. Now, if you want something that's a little darker moody, so instead of having maybe two lights up top, maybe put a light off to the side, shooting over the subject, creating some depth that way. The lighting can really change the way that your flat lay looks when it's down on the surface. Alright, so tip number three is to create an environment for your subject. A simple way to do this is to add some accessories to your surface that you can see in the frame without looking too cluttered. Here's an example that I did with the Slider 1 last week, and I think it turned out really nice. It looks so much better when you're doing something like this instead of just having a stark object sitting in the middle of a table. It really helps raise up the production level of your shot. Alright, another tip that I've been playing around with lately is to try different angles besides just the straight overhead shot. Here's an example that I did a few weeks ago. Someone was writing on a chalkboard, and instead of doing a straight down shot, we put the camera behind them and then put it on a little bit of an angle so you can actually see their shoulder and their head peeking in, helping to create a frame for the chalk, and so it really just dialed in what you were looking at. And the last tip that I want to suggest you do is to add some movement to your overhead shot. Now, you can do this a couple different ways. Sure, you can do it with an automated slider or video head, but you can also do this in post-production. And this is a simple way to do it. I do this actually with most of my static shots. I'll add just a little bit of movement in, and that adds in just some appeal to the shot, especially if you mix it with other shots with movements. So say most of your shots are on the Ronin and then you flip to this overhead shot, it's going to feel really static and stale. All you have to do is, once you're in post-production, maybe just push in a little bit, scale in just 2-3% on that shot, and that will add just a little bit of movement so that your shot doesn't look so static. Another thing you can do is you can punch into, say, 110% and then just horizontally position your framing so that it moves across the overhead shot, giving some movement to your shot. Once again, that's a tip for most static shots you can do that with. And if you punch in 4, 5, 8%, nobody's going to know that you're punched in. It will just help you look a little bit better in your post-production. Alright guys, hopefully this is a helpful video. If you like videos like this, make sure to like it so that I make more of them. If you've got questions, comments, suggestions, I'd love to hear them. Feel free to comment below. And once again, if you haven't subscribed, I would love for you to subscribe to my videos so that you can learn more about what I'm doing and we can grow together. Thanks guys. Have a good week.